My name is Margaret Joba-Woodruff, and I'm a visual artist and printmaker. So my practice focuses on organic forms and the way that patterns can inform memory. So a big part of my practice involves repetition and hand-based processes. So I work largely in copper etching, lithography, relief, but drawing is really at the foundation of everything I do. Today we're going to be doing some watercolor monotypes, playing with nature and found forged natural objects and using those to make some prints. So some materials that I would recommend are, first is watercolor paper. You want a paper that's going to hold and absorb water, so if you can, some watercolor paper, if not some printmaking paper, any paper that's stiff enough to hold a bit of liquid. Secondly, I would recommend using cake-based watercolors. Liquid watercolors that come in the tube will be too sticky and will maybe keep your pages stuck together, and you want sort of the chalkier types of watercolor to let the pigment settle. You can also bring a little jar for your water. This is a very easy way to also carry in and carry out. So any pigment water that you accumulate, you can bring home and find ways to dispose of safely. And then you'll also need some brushes. Sort of a medium-wide brush is usually your friend. So the first method for a watercolor print that I'm going to show you is using foraged leaves. And I'd recommend finding leaves that are already fallen. You want to find leaves that are particularly flat. It's going to be easier for you to press the leaf if it's already in a sort of flat shape. So the first step for painting is going to be painting our leaf. So you can feel on this back side is where all those individual spines are. The front is a lot smoother. You want to use the side with the spines. All right, and when every little piece of it is covered in ink, you're going to lift it from the side gently. You're going to choose where you want it on your page, flip, and once it's down, you don't want to slide it around. You want to place it and gently press down with your fingers, making sure you press every little corner. I like to take one finger to press along the spine, and when I'm ready, I lift and peel. I'm going to paint directly back on the leaf. So now instead with this one, instead of lifting it immediately, I'm going to keep holding it down. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to choose a different color. I'm going to drag the paint off the edge of the leaf. And what this is going to do is create a nice crisp outline. And then lift. You can see with this the completely different range of textures of leaves that you can use for this process. So your final print might look something like this, using a variety of negative shapes as well as overlay or two-tone shapes or prints. And I recommend overlapping the effects you can get by layering the different colors on top of them, the way the negative space plays with sort of the positive space of the print. You can layer and get all these different textures and tones. So the second type of print that we're going to make is we're actually going to be making two prints at once. And this is going to take a little bit more patience because we'll need to let it dry. So the first step for this is you need two sheets of paper that are roughly the same size. The closer in size, the better. And the first step is going to be coating both of the sheets of paper in just clear water. All right, so once those are nice and wet, I'm going to take a brush that has more of a rounded tip to it. I'm going to use some warm colors. And once I have all that pigment on my brush, I'm going to dip it back in the water real quick and squeeze the brush to drop some of the ink onto the paper. And you could paint directly onto the page as well. I find this drop effect is an interesting way to sort of sporadically distribute color. Sometimes I like to feel like I don't have as much control over the outcome of a print. And if I'm painting directly on the paper, I feel like I'm controlling it too much. Here I'm letting the ink fall as it may. So both our sheets have that nice coat of water on them to help with this bleeding effect, but we want to apply pigment to both sides. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my leaf. And this, I mean, it doesn't matter so much, it can kind of wiggle around. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this second piece of paper and line it up at the top so that they match. And I press them down like this. And I'm gonna lift my prints carefully, keeping them from sliding. I'm gonna place them somewhere in this book that I'm not worried about getting ink on. So this could be a sketchbook, a notebook. I'm then gonna close the book, and I'm gonna leave it pressed. I'd recommend leaving it either overnight or for at least 2 or 3 hours. Really let all that water evaporate into the pages of the book so that your print comes out nice and clean. And it'll leave the impression of that leaf on 2 sister prints. They both hold a memory of the leaf, but it's sort of a different imagination of that leaf. In this way, prints are really great for capturing memory. Instead of a painting where you, the artist, interpret the form or try to recreate the form exactly as it is, the print holds the memory of the shape of the object. And in this case, the shape and the life of the leaves that we're using. So this is a really simple and easy, fun way to get your hands dirty, make some prints out in the park with friends or family, and to interact with nature in an artful and creative, fun way.